Greetings, cretins. My name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Welcome to Fart Friday. Fart. Free inch Friday. I can't come up with any F word that works for 3-inch. So I just go with free inch. What's a better word Friday for when we're messing around with 3-inch stuff? Anybody? Nobody? All right. Hey, if you're looking down here and you're like, "Oh, are those really cool tiny whoop stands that I've seen on your shelf before?" As a matter of fact, they are. Wow. Now that I'm printing PETG, I'm finding all this stuff that I haven't printed because I've only had the machine. I've only had TPU in the machine, and one of those is these really cool tiny whoop stands. And so, if you want your own tiny whoop stand, I do offer 3D printing services through Etsy. All you got to do is, I need to make an item on there. For right now, I don't have an item on Etsy at the moment. These are harder to print. They take more time. The bed adhesion is a pain in the ass. So these are going to be a little bit more expensive than the existing 3D printing services that are on the Etsy store. And so, yeah, like I said, I need to make a new item on there for this. But if you want these, just go to CiottiFPV.com and shoot me a message. And as with all the other stuff, you know, you're paying for the filament, you're paying for my time, you're paying for the wear and tear on the machine. So you need to supply me the files that you want me to print. This is a really cool one that I found on Printables. You could certainly send me a link to this one if you wanted me to print it. It's really cool because it's got an insert for 2S, like 450-ish batteries. Just all 2S stuff works. 1S, actually, it doesn't. The batteries don't matter. It's the frames. So this would work with the any frame that's set up for 2S, Modula 7 V3, Modula 7 V4 that you've cut the battery tray slots, and then 1S 75 millimeter, and then why do I keep dropping these? And then 1S 65 millimeter, and they just pop on, and away you go. You have a very cool little stand for your tiny whoops. Works super well. I have like 4 of them on the shelf over there. You guys have seen me run into them before. So yeah, there you go, friends. Boy, have I been learning about bed adhesion. One thing TPU does do really well is stick to the bed. PETG, you actually have to pay attention to bed adhesion. I had, good Lord, I've got probably 10 prints worth of learning under my belt now, figuring that out, and I'm pretty much there. It's all about the brim from what I've found, and now that I've figured out how to paint brims on, because the auto brim is a complete pain in the ass to remove, especially with like these prints have this like inside area here. If you do an automatic brim, it completely covers up this area, and then you literally have to sit there and cut it out. It's super annoying. But yeah, now that I've figured out how to paint custom brims, so you just paint little circles. So I did like circle, 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 and that's plenty of brim to hold this damn thing down, and then I don't have to cut anything out in there. And with just that outer brim, I just pull it off the plate, and it just comes right off. Super simple. Really, really cool. I actually have a plate of them right now as an example. So like, oh boy, PETG just pops right off that fucking plate. You can totally tell why bed adhesion is a problem. So yeah, a bunch of little circles there, but then you just rip them off, and that's it. And it's good to go. So cool. Exactly what I didn't want to happen is happening. I'm spending more and more time learning about and 3D printing. You know what? It's funny. I totally get why 3D printing is so addictive for us. You make a little change, you hit print, and then you watch it. And you watch the change that you made, and you see if it worked or not. And then you make another little change, and you hit print, and you see if it will. Like, it's just instant gratification. And so like with the brims, like I would change the brim a little bit, hit print, and see on that first layer what it looks like. Pretty cool. Very fun. I don't have the time to be doing this, but by printing stuff that I can potentially sell, now I do kind of, now I can sort of justify the time spent on it, which is kind of cool. Not that I necessarily want to be doing more of this, but I do. It is nice to be learning about it, and it allows me to be able to like make myself stuff quicker because I actually know what the hell's going on. Boy, each print is very unique with PETG. With TPU, I felt like a little bit less so. In the same way that like every quad is specific. The parallels between 3D printing and FPV are just kind of insane. Pretty cool stuff. Man, it was really easy to pull off of that one. Getting it off of these ones is a little bit less easy. I gotta mess with this a little bit to I think I know why. I think I know why this is a little bit less easy to clear off of here. But yeah, pretty cool stuff. Tonight we are going to answer questions, as we always do, because these are all Q&A live streams. I feel like that is the most value that I can provide to you beautiful people. And when I do that, hopefully you see that value and hook a brother up. Join my Patreon, do a little PayPal lovin'. That sounds weird. Send a little PayPal lovin'. There we go. Buy something from my Etsy store. Buy a t-shirt from my Teespring store. Help me out. Doing this full time is tough. But you guys do a great job in helping me. Let's just kind of keep it going. Patreon keeps kind of shrinking. I'm not sure really why over the last couple of months. Probably because, you know, our country is in free fall because of the assholes. And so, you know, every single person other than the top 1% are getting absolutely hammered. Not in the good way either. But yeah. Do the things over on CiottiFPV.com. And we'll keep hanging out together. I'll keep saving you money. I'll tell you the cheap stuff that works really well. And yeah, we'll keep flying FPV in one way or another. Be that just inside, because they seem to be kind of coming after us more and more every day, it feels like. Or, you know, every once in a while outside. There we go. That wasn't too bad, getting those brims off. Not terrible. PETG is good stuff. I'm glad you guys pushed me in the direction of PETG. It's a cool material. It's been fun to print. It works really well on the bamboo defaults to a point. It's just the bed adhesion thing that it's kind of cool, man. With TPU, you worry about one thing. With PETG, you worry about a different thing. It's kind of neat. And I feel like by bouncing around here, I'm getting to learn each different pain in the ass of 3D printing. So, yeah. In the chat, Sporny was first. Levster, Chaser, Stick Flick, Andrew Taylor, Matthew W., Yukon FPV, Uriel, Tamava, Andrew Taylor again, Shoot FPV, Jason Levin, El Chingon, Ramalala, Kazuma, Cole Powers, Frosty, Frank Nicholas, Douglas 6, Morton Upshot, Cole Powers, Andrew Taylor, Uriel, Elias, Morton Upshot, Jason Levin, Andrew Taylor. Did I get everybody? Almost. Dave S, Cole Powers, Gert Jan, Vessel RX. What's up, friends? Thanks for coming by. Stick around. Tell your friends, yo. If you have FPV friends, tell them to watch me, and they'll become smarter, and then you can have more intelligent conversations with them. You know what I'm saying? Lord Region is in the house. If you want to talk to me, type CiottiFPV. It'll light up an orange for me. If you want to get each other's attention, type each other's names. If you type Uriel in your message for Uriel, his own name will light up an orange. He'll know you're talking to him. He'll answer your question. Or just curse you out. Cole Powers says Fly Day. Then it would be Friday. It would be Fly Day Friday. Friday Fly Day. Few Inch Friday. That's pretty good, Kazuma. Few Inch. Because it's only a few inches. I actually like that a lot. Uriel says Ciotti FPPETG. Jason Levin says Flying 3-inch Friday. Douglas 6 says 4th of a foot Friday. Ramallah says the most efficient prop in the ... In the world. That wasn't loud enough.
In the world.
The most efficient prop
in the world.
My frame is the best frame
in the world.
Uriel says double-sided tape. That's it. He just says double-sided tape. Morton Upshot says you will rip the pen off your build plate. What? The pen? What's that mean? Cole Power says 10 prints, LOL, comes from 10 years of experience. What's that mean? Why are you guys confusing me so much? Uriel says, also no need for heat with double-sided sticky tape. Oh, you guys are talking about putting double-sided tape on the build plate. That's a pain in the ass. Nah, man. I'll make the build plate work. Once I figured out the brim situation, it was all as well. And painting the custom brims is kind of not custom, but the manual brim. Hold on, ready? Definitely don't clip this. I'll tell you what, man, manually brimming is thrilling. I'll tell you what, man, Manual brimming is quite the thrill. There you go. Holy shit, Craig Meyer with a $50 PayPal. Dude, thank you so much. He said, hey, Aaron, please add this to your DJI O4 Pro Freestyle Fund and keep up the 3D printing. Very useful for those of us without a printer. Dude, thank you so much. Incredibly generous. Let's get it going here. The gear fund has been kicked squarely in its asshole. Thanks to Craig. Thank you, brother. Now we just have to hope that that by the time we fill this up, that we can get an O4 Pro. Super scary, man. Super scary that we might not be able to get DJI stuff anymore in the US. But I mean, we'll find a way. We'll find a way to get it. Elias says, if you have bed adhesion problems, get the cryogrip build plates, either the frostbite just for PLA and PETG, or the glacier for everything. I love the glacier. Even nylon sticks like PA. That's like PLA. That's pretty cool. Cryogrip, huh? And then Dave S says, I just got my cryogrip today. So, cryogrip. Bamboo A1 Mini. Oh, come on. It's light blue? Are you shitting me? I can't not buy one of those. I don't even give a fuck if it works. It's light blue. Look at that. That looks so cool. Come on. Hold on. I'm trying really hard to buy everything off of eBay. It's not very difficult. I will admit that eBay's return policy is absolutely nothing like Amazon's. Amazon's just bad, man. Amazon is run by a piece of shit, and they absolutely hammer the hell. So, if your first reaction to that is, no, Amazon's not bad, they work with private sellers. Sure, they do absolutely work with private sellers, but they hammer the living hell out of their private sellers. And the reason that they can do that is because their private sellers are now on Amazon, and there's like clout to that, basically. But like, it's bad, dude. They're bad, and I'm trying super hard to stop. This is the second time, maybe the third time in my life that I've made a concerted effort to try to not order off of Amazon. Shop local, shop eBay. You know, eBay absolutely is private sellers, and eBay's percentages are unbelievably low. If you ever want some faith in humanity, look up the story behind eBay. Look up, here on YouTube, search eBay documentary or something like that. There'll be some, as always, excellent YouTube journalism. eBay is a really cool company. And my favorite thing about the history of eBay is that when they were setting it up, there was a moment where they were like, oh shit, everybody's just going to rip everybody off. What are we going to do about this? And essentially, in the end, it didn't happen. Sure, every once in a while somebody gets ripped off, but the percentages that happens are unbelievably low, and it's really cool. It'll give you some faith in humanity, which I feel like we desperately need with, every day being a living nightmare here in cheeseburger, hot dog, Nazi land. So, yeah, check that out. If you don't know the story behind eBay, it's pretty slick. But yeah, the Amazon return policy is like a joke, and eBay not like that. And so don't just order shit for the sake of ordering shit on eBay with the expectation that if it's not absolutely perfect, you'll just return it. Order stuff that you actually want. This looks like it's it. I'm just going to leave this tab opened. And one of the other really cool things that I dig about eBay is up here, instead of sorting by best match, you can sort by nearest first, and then you can save on some fuel. Or the nearest one will be 2,185 miles away, and you won't save on jack shit. But every once in a while, somebody like really close to you will be selling this, and like it might be a couple extra dollars, but who cares? You're saving from, you know, a tractor trailer having to bomb across the fucking country, or a ship having to float across the sea. You know, there you go. Cryogrip glacier, very cool. $28. Fair enough. What else is happening in chat? Uriel says, we will shine. Cole Powers says, customer, hey, I like X, but can you tweak it to Y? Aaron, oh fuck, now I gotta learn CAD narrator, and that, ladies and gentlemen, of time is the moment of which the future depended. I will not learn CAD. No. You tweak it. Vessel RX says, I'm building a 3.5-inch rig and wondering if 1604 motors are right for 1800 mAh 4S. 1800 mAh 4S is a battery for a 5-inch rig. You put that battery on a 3.5-inch rig and the motors are going to melt into the ground, regardless of what the motor is. That is way too big of a battery. That's a bigger battery than I used to fly on my 5-inch freestyle rigs that were 600 plus grams that carried a GoPro Session. So yeah, that battery is, putting that battery on anything, putting that battery on a 5-inch rig, it's gonna feel fat. Putting that battery on anything smaller than a 5-inch rig, it's gonna burst into flames. That's just way too big of a battery. You want like maximum 850 4S. 850 4S is about perfect for a 3-inch. It's a little big for a 3-inch rig, but it gives it some nice weight and some nice throw, which is why I really dig it. It is the perfect battery for a 3.5-inch build. So yeah, 1604 motors are a good choice for a 3.5-inch build, but that battery is a terrible choice for a 3.5-inch build. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but I just saved you from destroying those 1604 motors, so I just saved you a bunch of money. Craig says, Uriel, yes, curse me out, CiottiFPV. Gramalala says, drifting Bentleys equals in the world, XXX, yeah. Uriel says, brimming, hi, you still knit, print, hire products, remember the sticky tape. I'll remember the sticky tape. I won't use it, but I'll remember it. Gold Power says, there's a good video about bed adhesion. Sharp enough corners will curl up and release. Mouse Ears fixes that. It's an option in BS OS. Yeah, there's actually, for these Tiny Whoop stands, there are 2 files for this. There's one file that's like this, and then there's another file with circles here, because the designer specifically says that sometimes these corners will peel up. It's happening on this one. That's funny. You can actually see it. This print stuck to the bed just fine. But if you look, the corner is starting to kind of sit up. Doesn't really matter. I mean, it's just going to sit on the desk or whatever. But I think next time that I do, I need to print a couple more of these. I've gotten ahead on the little adapter bits. I'm gonna print the version of this that has the circles in the corners, which you can do. You can do that in with the manual brim setup. You can just paint it paints circles. So you could just come in here and boop boop, and it would print, but it would print little brim circles. But the file has a nice big circle that the designer added in. So yeah, there's that. Look at this. Look at the size of this compared to my hand. This is a Brother Hobby 2510. This is the biggest goddamn motor that you can get that has regular 16x16 mounting on the bottom. And the reason that I got a set of these motors directly from Brother Hobby and waited a month for them is that the 7-inch glide arms that Bob Ruge created way long ago that not many people bought, that he sent the file to Ryan Harrell to cut for me out of 6mm thick carbon. They are only 16 by 16 motor mount. Unfortunately, back then when Bob designed them, there really were no 19 by 19 motors. 16 by 16 and 19 by 19 refers to the motor mount pattern, the bolt pattern on the bottom of the motor. And so, yeah, I had Ryan cut me 3, maybe 4 sets of these 7-inch glide arms. And then I bought a set of Emax 2806s and got all excited. I got the motors a while ago, and then the arms finally came in. I got all excited, and I went to bolt the arms. Well, I put one bolt through the arm, and then I went to put the second bolt through the arm for the motor, and I was like, shit. So I'm gonna try these. 2510 is a motor size that scares me a little bit because it's not even 3-to-1. It's like 2.5-to-1, right? 25 millimeters wide, 10 millimeters tall. That's a ratio of 2.5 to 1, which is a little bit aggressive. We typically want at least a 3-to-1 ratio for freestyle. This is not a freestyle build. This is more of a cruising / going somewhat fast build. What makes me worried about going somewhat fast with it is that to go fast, you're going to be hammering on the throttle, and that's going to make motor heat. But I have the other sort of biggest motor with this mount pattern, which is the Brother Hobby Avenger 2507. And it doesn't make nearly enough power. It makes just enough power for super aggressive 5-inch propellers. It makes just barely enough propeller for 5.5-inch aggressive props. For a 7-inch prop, fucking forget it. There's just no way. It's going to be... that setup would be like a long-range build where it's sacrificing response time and flight performance for the motors being as light as possible so that you can squeak out every little bit extra range. Hopefully this is somewhere in between. Hopefully I can keep this. Well, we'll see. You know, in the OSD, as I increase the throttle, I can watch the amps go up. And if I increase the throttle 10, so here's a good way to see when your motors start to get too hot, right? You get up in the air, let's say your hover point is 30%. You take a look at your amps, your amp readout. Let's say it's 10 amps at hover at 30% throttle. You put the nose down, you push the throttle up to 40%. You look at the amps. Let's say the amps are now, let's say they've gone from 30 to 40, right? 30% throttle, 20, 40% throttle, 30, 50% throttle. Let's say it goes up another 10. 60% throttle. Let's say it goes up 20. 70% throttle. It goes up 50. It's starting to jump a lot more, and that is showing you that it's saturating with heat and it's becoming a lot less efficient. So you just kind of like keep an eye on that, and that's an easy way to tell what like the realistic sort of efficient maximum is for that motor. You can probably also put your watts on in the OSD, and that would also help in doing it. But I've just always used the amps, and yeah, if you see like. The other way to do it would just be to like gently, slowly ramp the throttle up and then just stare at the amp. Mine is on the right side of the screen. And so you just stare at your amp readout and you should see the amp readout go, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. It should gradually rise, but there's going to be a point where it skyrockets. And that's the point where you don't want to live, right? You do not want to cruise around at that point because you're pushing it too hard. The motor has run out of the ability to shed enough heat to stay cool. And a cool motor is an efficient motor. A hot motor is an inefficient motor. The magnets become less magnetic, and you just start dumping voltage into the motor and getting very little return in the way of thrust. And so, yeah, a lot of different ways to do that. The reason why that is going to be a big concern with this motor is that this is a very tall motor and it's not a very wide motor. 2510 is a ratio of 2.5 width to 1 height. That is a ratio that is, it's going to be a motor that, for the amount of power that it can produce, it's actually very lightweight. But it's a motor that's going to overheat very quickly. 3 to 1 or even 4 to 1 is much better for a motor that you're going to push really hard or pick up a lot of weight with. I might be able to get away with it here because this is going on to a fairly lightweight rig. This is going to be going on to a regular glide chassis, a glide center section, which is very lightweight, with 7-inch arms that are not super beefy and like, yes, they're 6mm thick carbon, but they're glide arms. They're fairly aerodynamic. So I'm hoping that I can get away with this tall but not so wide motor. We'll see. You know, I'm gonna see where it's happy, kind of cruising around, and then we'll see how fast that is. And if it's fast enough, great. If it's not, then I'll bail on the glide as a 7-inch frame, and I'll probably end up going to an AOS 7, because there really aren't many 7-inch frames that I've seen out there that aren't ultra heavy. Because, yeah, I do want to have something for live broadcast work that will go really fast. That will allow me to throw my hat in the ring for motorsports events, for live broadcast at motorsports events. And so, yeah. There you go. 2510s, yo. Look at how long these motor cables are that they give you. That's kind of really nice that they do that. Not kind of really nice. It's just really nice. Look at this motor in relation to a tiny whoop. I love doing this. It's like taller than a tiny whoop. One of these things is not like the other. These are the biggest motors that I've ever had. I still have those 2806s, but I don't know what the hell to do with them. Well, I'm holding on to them in case the glide thing doesn't work out. So we'll see. In the chat, Cold Powers. Oh no, we got that. Craig says, Amazon hammers sellers like Walmart does. I think Amazon's even worse. And I know, for the record, for anybody that's saying, nah, you're full of shit, I'm sure Amazon's super fair to its resellers. I literally worked for a company, and my literal job was to get us set up with Amazon. When I started working for the company, they were not on Amazon, and they decided, like, we got to be on there. And, yeah. 8 hours a day, I worked on product listings. I got to see all of the bullshit firsthand. It is awful. So you would not believe how many companies sell on Amazon at a loss. They literally lose money. We were one of them. We sold on Amazon for 6 months at a loss, and then I left the company. But they literally lost money just to be on Amazon, just to use Amazon as like a marketing tool. To try to drive people back to their website. It's awful. It's really bad. They are a shitty company. Everyday with Bruno says selling and buying on eBay is great. Shipping with eBay sucks. Yeah, agreed. Ramalala says I got hydrogen peroxide for you. Fun blonde. Nope. I would look ridiculous with blonde hair. Elias says the frostbite is only for PLA and PETG. If you want to print other materials than the glacier. Glacier has a smoother surface, while the frostbite is more like PEI sheets. Ah, okay. So I want frostbite. Frostbite. Aha. Cryogrip frostbite bamboo A1 mini. Aha. There we go. Thank you for that. I would have gotten the wrong one. 590 miles. See? That's going to save money over 2,000 miles, right? 27 bucks. Oh, 10 bucks delivery. I'll tell you what. That that is one of the biggest hurdles to buying shit on eBay, is the moment where you see the shipping and you go, "What the fuck?" Because we've been so brainwashed into thinking that everybody should be offering free shipping. Just understand that they're pricing the thing much lower, right? You can see it right here. This one's $26.99. This one's $46.41. This one you're gonna pay 10 bucks in shipping. This one has free shipping. Why the hell am I so brainwashed that I look at this one and I see this little free shipping thing and I go, "Oh, that's the one I need to buy. That's definitely a better deal." Wow, we have been fucked. We have been destroyed, yo. Our poor brains, man. Brian Kirk says, "Did you see the new Gamehat aerial Pub 65? I did not. Is it on their website? Pub 65? Is it this? There it is. How do I do it? It looks like it's got a slightly different camera mount, maybe. And it looks like it's in an Air 65 V3, not Air, Newbie Drone 65 V3 frame. How do I see it? How do I see it? It's not up there. But yeah, it's either the lesser expensive rig that they said they were going to try to do, or it's the more durable kind of setup. Very cool. Love to see those guys doing well. Jake FPV says, "Is there a link to those whoop stands you printed somewhere? Those are cool." There is indeed. I left this tab open just for you guys. It is in the chat. If you need me to print it for you, though, you let me know. I'd be glad to. It's on printables. It's nice. It's minimal. It's easy. It's nothing crazy. Other than, you know, bed adhesion stuff. But yeah, it just works. Very, very cool. I'm closing this tab now. You guys are on your own. Ginger FPVRC says, "Howdy fam, flying my last few batteries in North Idaho, moving to South Idaho, 7 hours away from me, with my 6-year-old son. Very cool. I'm scared to death. I'm going to miss it up here. Do you have any tips on travel?" Are you moving or are you traveling? Sounds like you're moving. Travel tips are totally different than moving tips. Number one moving tip is just to understand that moving is the most stressful thing that we do. Like, they've done studies on it, like the most stressful things that we go through in life. It's like moving and divorce are 1 and 2, but moving is number 1. And as with all things, sort of mental health and just in general, like life related, just realizing something exists is the first major step. So just realizing that moving is inherently outrageously stressful, that's going to help a lot, because like you're going to be overwhelmed and you're going to like snap at somebody, and like whatever, you're going to feel like shit. And then you can just go like, "Oh, it's because I'm moving and I'm just insanely stressed out. It's all good. I'm not a bad person. I'm not like whatever. Like it's just cool." So just, you know, just realize that you're going to be outrageously stressed out. Go to Costco and they've got 3 clear bins for like not a lot of money, and buy a whole bunch of them. Get your bin life going. I've got these. I've been buying these bins from Costco for a while, and it's so nice to have. I probably have like 30, maybe 40 of these, and they're nowhere near as expensive as most bins that you've ever bought in your life. And if you buy a whole shitload of them, they will all stack on top of each other, and they're great, and they're waterproof. All the shit in these bins did not get soaking wet when it flooded down here. That was pretty awesome, right? Yeah, having a lot of, and they're kind of the perfect size. They're not so big that you can put too much shit into them to where they become heavy and they explode. They fit like perfectly under most beds. All the beds in this house have like a dozen of these bins under the beds. They're clear, so you can see what the hell's in them. Really, really cool stuff. And then when you move, you know, you have a whole bunch of them, and then it's just slick. But yeah, just smash through it, dude. To be honest, that's the deal with moving. Understand that it's unreasonably stressful, and just smash through. You got it. You're good. It's gonna be all right. Moving while stressful is the greatest thing that you can possibly do. Just uprooting and switching to a different area and meeting new people, eating different foods, going to different places. Like, you want to talk about being like a world citizen in whatever time you have left on this planet. That's the shit, man. Moving is great. Even if you move somewhere that you don't like as much as where you were, it's a life experience, you know? You're going to tell the story of the time that you moved, you know, like Charleston. Charleston turned out to be really bad for me. Like, I almost didn't make it out of Charleston alive, literally. But it's an awesome story that I get to tell, and like, you know, that's what life is, right? It's having like crazy experiences and going through some shit and learning. You know, I learned a lot living in Charleston. I learned how deep the hole of mental health is. I learned that, you know, when there's a good old boy network and you're not a part of it because of the way you sound and where you grew up, that you ain't gonna get into it. They're not gonna let you in, regardless of how good you are at what you do. I learned that, you know, living where you vacation is really difficult, and it's you know, vacationing and falling in love with a place is potentially totally different than when you actually live there. Doesn't have to be, but it certainly can be, right? And so, like, even though the experience on the whole was pretty shitty, right? It was a great life experience, and I don't regret it for a second. And so, yeah, move, yo. Move, people. Dave S. says, I'm about to do a build with hot motors, 1507s. Should haul ass, though. It will indeed, and if you stay out of the throttle, it'll be very efficient. Morton Upshot says, about what I know about magnets, drop the magnet in water and goodbye magnet, according to our supreme genius. POTUS, really? He thinks that if you drop magnets in water, they disappear? That's the least surprising thing I've heard all day. Stupid is as stupid does. McShaky FPV says, I thought you said Brother Hobby was a shitty company. They treated Bob Ruge like shit. And I try really hard not to buy Brother Hobby motors because of it. But this was my only option, and so I sucked it up. I snagged a set of these. The 2507s I'd bought a long time ago. Probably around the time that all hell was breaking loose between him and Bob. Between them and Bob, I should say. Those 2507s were the last set of motors that I bought from Brother Hobby. And I felt dirty buying these, and I did not like buying these. But it's been probably like 4, maybe even 5 years since I've spent money with them before. And yeah, so I don't like it, but here it is. Thanks for pointing that out, though. Uriel says, a blonde raving stripe from bear to head. No. Nate Adams says, Apex Evo 7-inch flies really good and uses the 5-inch Apex Evo body, so it's light and stiff. The downside is fitting all the bits for long range 7-inch, the body and wind buffeting cause low weight. Yeah, I have seen and heard quite a few nightmares about building the Apex 7-inch. Bolt holes not lining up right, the frame being like like you put everything together and the frame is like tacoed. So I will probably not go with the Apex Evo 7. If it'll almost certainly be the AOS 7, because on 7-inch rigs tuning is a big problem, and the AOS rigs are really like, with frames, right? There's all these different things that you have to order into your list of like priorities, right? How easy is it to work on? The AOS frames usually kind of don't prioritize that very much. How good are they at isolating the gyro from vibrations? AOS frames are damn near specifically designed for that, and that's one of the biggest problems with 7-inch rigs. And so I really like the idea of, you know, that being one of the top priorities with the AOS 7, which is probably why I would go with it. Also, you know, ease of working on it is not something that's going to happen much on a 7-inch build, right? You're not going to slam that thing into the ground very often. So it being a pain in the ass to work on, not being a priority, is kind of fine, right? So yeah. Zach says, preach it, dude. Amazon uses the profits from evil hosting to subsidize their retail. It's so profoundly evil, and people need to know about their business practices. Yeah, man, it's bad, dude. It's fucking bad. I hate that I'm most disappointed with in myself is that I knew how bad they were. I've known how bad they are for a long time. But they're so cheap and they're so convenient and they have such an insane selection of things that I just fucking ignored it. And I would like to think that that's not me. You know, when it's funny, like when you meet someone new, right? It's like, hey, my name is so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. I'm related to or friends with so or so that you also know. Oh, cool. And you talk about that person for a while. And then it's like, and then it of course turns to like, oh, what do you do for a living? You talk about what you do for a living. I would, other cultures and like really the people that I want to be like, let's say, we'll talk about like who are you? Who are you? Go ask them next time you meet somebody. Ask them who they are. And they're going to tell you where they work, they're going to tell you who their friends are, they're going to tell you what they like doing. They're not going to tell you who they are. Who you are is, it's hard. It like, think about that. Like, who are you? And then analyze where your brain goes. It's probably not going to go to the right places. Right? Who are you? Well, I'm a kind person. I'm a person that stands for, you know, so-and-so values, right? I'm not even good at it. I've been thinking more and more about it lately, just try to kind of figure it out. And I'm in the super early stages of that. But like, I don't consider myself to be, I would like to not be a person that orders shit from an evil company like that when there are so many fucking alternatives, right? Look at the world we live in. We have loads of places within driving distance that we can get stuff from. We might even have like a friend that we know that sells something, or maybe he's got some used stuff that he's trying to unload, right? There are websites that are ethical that we can very easily order from. We're going to have to pay shipping. Absolutely. Guess what? You got to pay a little bit more for not evil. Evil is cheap. It's cheap because it's evil, right? You can make way more money by being evil, and then you can make your shit a little bit cheaper, you know? And so yeah, I'm horrified that I ignored that part of myself, that I consider that to be a part of who I am, you know? And so, yeah, not proud of it, but I can sit here and hammer the shit out of myself, and then what'll happen is I'll feel terrible, and then I'll just say, well, fuck it, I'm just a terrible person, so I might as well order shit from Amazon. Or I can stop ordering from Amazon and start ordering from eBay and say, you know what? Yeah, I did that. I'm not proud of it, but I ain't doing it anymore. There was one of Dr. K's recent podcasts really clarified that for me. And that is the biggest trap of, in my opinion, of like that negative self-talk. The negative self-talk is what then makes you give up. And then once you've given up, why am I going to bother? Why am I going to bother making anything better when I'm just a piece of shit? It's the podcast is called Why You Hate Yourself. It is phenomenal. It's on Apple's podcast thing. It's probably all over the place. I don't think I've seen it pop up on his YouTube. Healthy Gamer, Why You Hate Yourself. You guys should all listen to it. It is 7 days ago. Here it is. Why You Hate Your Life. Sorry. Why You Hate Your Life. This is kind of an important one. I know it's 2 hours and change. But put the podcast, fall asleep to the podcast, fall asleep to the podcast for 2 weeks straight, for every night for 2 weeks straight, because you're going to fall asleep and then the next night rewind it way back. And then listen, and then you're going to fall asleep and then rewind it way back. And then you're going to fall asleep and then rewind it way back. And if you listen to the same part twice, that's okay. But it's a really, really, really good one that clarified some stuff for me. And that doesn't happen super often. Like I've been doing the talk therapy thing for a long time. I've been watching Healthy Gamer for a long time. It's pretty rare that I get as much clarity as I did from this chunk of him working through stuff. It's a really, really good one. Links in the chat. Subscribe to Healthy Gamer. You'll have a better life. You start listening to Healthy Gamer, I can almost guarantee you will have a better life. You will be more pleasant around people. You will just be happier. You will understand the things that make you feel like shit. You will stop beating yourself up quite as bad as you have been. I hide behind the, like, well, I'm just making jokes. I'm just being funny. And, like, okay, but there's a cost to that. And, make jokes when other people are around to make them laugh. Don't make the jokes when it's just you. That's all bad. Yeah. So careful with that. P. Richard Scott says Walmart is same price typically and no $99 a year. Yeah, it's true. That is true. No $99 a year. Although, I mean, you can get the same prices without the. I've actually personally never done Amazon Prime, and you just have to wait a little bit long. You have to wait 3 or 4 days instead of getting it like overnighted or whatever. But there you go. Vessel RX says check on bin life. CiottiFPV. I also love the stackable rolling bins that tool companies make. Stackable rolling bins that tool companies make. Oh, the big heavy duty ones. Yeah, they're great. It's good to have a few big heavy duty bins, but my God, every single big heavy duty bin that I've got is like filled with 80 pounds worth of shit because it's the big heavy duty bin. And so like every time I need to move it, I have this moment where I'm like, I don't feel like picking that shit up. I like hurt my upper back last time. Do I really need to get in there? That's fine. And then like I won't like, because I got like 4 of them stacked up. And it's just like, of course, every single time what I need is in the bottom bin. And it's just like, nah, I don't need it that bad. I'll just move on with life. Oh my God. It's insane. Cold Power says, oh, I'm moving. That's why I'm a complete monster. Narrator. This is all that Travis needed to push him over the edge into becoming a serial killer. Peter Scott says, and when you get divorced, you also move. Worst up. Yeah, that is that is it, right? The 2 most stressful things in life a lot of times happen right on top of each other. They did for, well, I guess they didn't for, well, they sort of did for me. No, they didn't. Come to think of it, no, they didn't. I fucking stayed, goddammit, and I stayed for a while. a lot of times, like, you stay for a few months and then you go, you know what I mean? Because it doesn't feel the same. But I stayed longer than that. I separated those things by about a year and a half, I guess. After my divorce, I pretty quickly met Maggie. I was very lucky. Match.com, brothers. If you stay inside a lot. If you like going to the bar a lot, then meet somebody at the bar. But if you're like me and you like to stay inside a lot, use the internet to find people, because you'll find other people that stay inside a lot and like using the internet. Right? But yeah, and then I think it was about a year and a half in to Maggie and I's relationship that she bought this house and we moved in here. Which is pretty fast, but, you know, whatever. Elias says the glacier is for PLA and PETG too. That's why I only have the glacier. PETG and PLA stick without a problem, and it has the addition of being capable also printing TPU rather. The plate that I have now is I'm fine. Well, shit. That makes me want to get the glacier. It would be nice to have one plate that does everything. Glaciers for PLA and PETG. That's why I only have the glacier. PETG and PLA stick without a problem. And has the addition of being capable of also printing TPU. I'm gonna do the glacier then. And if it's now that I've learned about the brims and whatnot, I'll do the glacier one, because it would be nice to not have to have the extra plate and whatnot. It would be nice to just have one that works for everything, and it's a little bit more grippy for PETG. It'll probably be a little bit harder to pull TPU off of, but that's fine. I'm probably only ever going to print in PETG and TPU. Cool. So I'm going to get the glacier then. I'm actually going to search for it. Glacier Bamboo A1 Mini. There we go. 590 miles. Ginger says, thank you. You're certainly welcome. Elias says, but I like the smooth surface. So if you don't care about the surface and only print PLA, PETG, the frostbite will be better for you. All right, well, then I'm going to go to the frostbite then. I'm going to go with... No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to do the glacier one. Wait, what are you saying? What's the surface on the glacier one? I like the smooth surface. So does that mean the glacier has the smooth surface? Is that the difference between the glacier and the frostbite? Smooth versus textured? The plate that I have now is textured. So it would be kind of cool for this to be a smooth plate, because then I have both. I'm going to stick with the glacier, I think. CMYK is in the house. He says, what's up? Elias says, TPU isn't trickier to print on a regular PEI, so for that you won't need the glacier. Elias, look, I haven't said this in a while, but this is important to know about me. Talk to me like I'm a 3-year-old. It'll save you. It'll save you and me lots of time. McShaky says Google is evil. Google owns YouTube. Yeah, I'm trying to get off Google and get onto Firefox. I'm trying to get off Chrome, get onto Firefox, I should say. Euro says those thoughts can go a long way. Relax, take the middle road. Indeed. Nate Adams says it took me years of therapy to figure out how to answer who am I. Also, I would agree on Apex 7. I don't recommend it. Love my iOS 7, and it's wildly durable. Nice. YouCanFPV says it's so hard to order shit from there. It's so hard to not order shit from there. Yeah, for sure. McShaky says Apple is effing evil. People at Foxconn were jumping off the roof so much they put nets on the side of their buildings. Yeah. Lots of companies are evil. It's trying to find the least evil companies that make stuff, you know. Lord Region says built a monster 702 40,000 on HDZero AIO5. Morning runtime 50 seconds. Yeah. And hot temperatures within 40 seconds. VTX at 25. Probably probably just a bad idea. Any thoughts? Nah, mine was the same way. When I put 40,000 kV motors on my AIO5, it was just, the runtime was ridiculously short. It got ridiculously hot. And so I backed the motors way off. There's nothing you can do. Ramalala says, you're getting on well. CiottiFPV, GG. Thank you, dude. Cole Power says, well, no. Thank you. And you guys get to see typically the best version of me. In the same way that if you walk into your job every day, and you're just absolutely miserable and you're just horrible and you're a mess, you're probably not going to work there for very long. That applies here as well. And so I show up for you guys, and you guys get the best version of me. And that's a good thing. Right? Don't think of the negative side of that. That's a really good thing, because I need that. And I think we all do. If you've ever been unemployed for a big period of time, for me it was 1.5 years when I first moved to Charleston. It's bad. It's real bad. Having a job and having work is super important. And yeah, it forces you to do that. And like, you know, forces you to do that feels like a bad thing, but a lot of times it's not. And so yeah, every day is a challenge when you live with mental health stuff. Sometimes it's not nearly as much of a challenge. Sometimes it's fucking excruciating. Like, you know. So. Yeah, thank you. I've been feeling I'm in. I've had a good couple of weeks here, but my flavor of mental illness is one that kind of guarantees me that won't last, and that's super annoying and kind of drives me insane. But this is the way it is. This is what it is to live with this, and so you gotta learn to kind of cope with it, and I've learned to really, really, really appreciate when I open my eyes in the morning and I don't just feel absolutely awful. And the days that I kind of feel good, they're like an incredible gift. And yeah, I try to have as many of those as I possibly can. But it's tough. Cole Power says, what you need is a bulky friend to move your heavy shit. Yeah. I had a bunch of them when I lived in New Jersey, actually. Levster with a 10-pound super chat. He says, I appreciate you. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you appreciating me. Dave S. says, I just got the Glacier. It's smoother than the gold PEI plate, but still has texture. Cool. I like that. I'm getting the Glacier. Chris Croft says, I have the Glacier and use it for TPU. And they state you can use it. I do just use textured plate in Bamboo Studio. Cool. You Can FPV says, I think Apple and Nintendo are definitely the worst. They shit on their customers all the time. I don't know what to say. Elias says, everything in one, Glacier, smooth, sticky, and for everything, frostbite, coarse, even stickier, but only for PLA and PETG. I print everything on the Glacier and it's fine. There we go. 3-year-old. Perfect. Glacier it is. Thank you, dude. Thank you for taking the time to school me on these cool looking blue plates. McShaky says, I use Vision Miner nanopolymer adhesive on my Bamboo Lab engineering plate, and it lets me print anything with plenty of adhesion. Yeah, we'll see. The PETG is proving to be pretty challenging, but I'm definitely figuring it out. The brims are not hard to add in the software, so I mean, I can tell though that if I start to print even smaller and smaller and smaller stuff, the PETG is going to continue to be a challenge. But yeah, we'll see. Vision Miner nanopolymer adhesive. Okay, cool. I don't think I need that quite yet, but it's interesting. P. Richard Scott says, I have over 300 hours of one-on-one with him. This is not the best of him. In general, the live streams, you guys get the best of me because, you know, it's my job and I have to rely on it to have a roof over my head and to eat and stuff like that, right? And that will push you to do things that you didn't think you could do. McShaky says, I knew my wife for 7 months before I married her 31 and a half years ago when we were 18 years old. Damn, dude. That's awesome. Nate Adams says, I just built an HDZero AIO 15.2S Whoop, Bheli 75 Pro frame, RCM power 1002 19,000s, motor limited to 80%. Motors were struggling to spin on arm, so I made idle to 8%. Is that too high? No such thing as too high. When the motors stop struggling to spin, regardless of what idle percentage that is or startup value that is, that's the right value. You know, it's easy to be like, well, none of my other rigs need this high of an RPM. It doesn't matter. Your idle RPM and your startup values, you have to push them up or down in relation to how powerful the motor is and how heavy the rotating assembly is. That's it. If you're pushing those, if you're having to push those numbers really high, all that means is that you've got a motor that's not all that powerful and or a rotating assembly that's very heavy. So like realize that and just like understand that and just make a mental note. The build is going to fly that way. You know, the build is going to fly very heavy with a very low response time. So it's going to be kind of wibbly wobbly in the air. But yeah, there is no like too high. You set those to the point where they jive with your mechanical system. The mechanical system being the motor, bell, and propeller, and the amount of voltage that you're sending to it and the kV, right? But yeah, it's about how much power the motor has, because basically what that's doing is it's forcing the motor to just start to turn the rotating assembly. And so if the motor doesn't have a lot of power and the rotating assembly is heavy, you have to give it more. You have to give it more electricity, more juice to be able to overcome that and reliably push that rotating assembly so that it keeps going and going and going and going. So but yeah, that's actually a really interesting conversation. You can tell a lot about how a build's gonna fly before it ever gets up in the air. When you're setting that idle, if you're having to push those numbers up higher and higher and higher, that's going to be a build with shit response time that is going to be kind of annoying, and it's not going to be crisp in the air. And so, yeah, that's one of the ways that I know how a build's going to fly before I ever put it in the air, is when I go into the motors tab and I hit set motor direction. And if all four motors sit up there and go, and they can't spin right, I'm like, fuck, here we go. This is going to be an underpowered, overpropped build. Nate Adams says 45 millimeter props and all up weight with battery just under 45 grams. Sounds about right. Matty Blunts is in the house. What's up, brother? Hey, you coming to Castle Crash? I hope so. I hope we get to hang again. You know, it's funny. Maddie and I barely hung out last year at Castle Crash, but then at Tiny Whoop Open, we hung out a fucking ton. And then I immediately was like sad that I didn't hang out with him more at fucking Castle Crash. Yeah, super looking forward to hanging out with you at Castle Crash if you're going, brother. See you there. Awesome. Stop asking good questions and sparking good conversations so that I can finish my fucking 3-inch build, you dirty rat bastards. Insult your audience. That's the key. Hey, go to CiottiFPV.com and click some buttons. Help me keep doing this full time. The Patreon's been doing this and I'm not sure why, and it's starting to kind of freak me out a little bit. So yeah, join the Patreon, bump up a tier if you want. Hey, if you're on like if you're super into tiny whooping and you want to be on the tiny whoop tier so that you can win tiny whoop parts the first Monday of every month, but like you have an extra $1 a month that you want to throw my way, you can do that. You can go into Patreon and you can just change the dollar amount. You can stay on whatever tier you're on and you can go from $5 to $6. And if a bunch of you do that, it does make a difference. So, you know, food for thought. Dave Gunna says, why are you moving? Sorry, I missed the beginning. I'm not moving. Somebody in chat is moving. Dave Gunna also says, watch the temps on PETG. I had to turn my nozzle temp to 225 for it to print well. What's mine set at? Let's see. So I use the generic PETG profile. So my temperature range is 220 to 270, but the actual temperature is 255 for the initial layer. Let's just 255 all the time. So I'm way higher than you. Would you say 225? Did you have it higher and then you dropped it down? Or did you have it lower and then you moved it up? Where's the other number in here? Oh, you know what I did notice in here in reference to TPU that I'm going to try? Hold on, let me zoom you guys in a little bit. I found something kind of cool. In the cooling, what I realized is that the fan up on the top that blows through the extruder is the part cooling fan. And look, it's only set to 90% for the max fan speed threshold. So on my TPU profile, I've moved this up to 100, and then I move this minimum fan threshold up to 50, in the hopes that it will keep the filament a little bit cooler in there, so that it grips the extruder wheel a little bit more. But also, next time I print TPU, I'm going to put this different arm in there that apparently helps with TPU as well. So hopefully my TPU issues will be solved. Elias says, just sent a picture on Discord of the glacier where you can kind of see the texture. Let me see real quick. Oh, wow. Yeah, that looks way smoother than this plate. Cool. I like that. I almost bought a bamboo totally smooth plate. And then it looks like Elias also has a really cool little filament compatibility adhesion chart. This is pretty slick. Dude, can you do me a favor? Can you drop this into the 3D printing Discord channel? This is the perfect thing for like everybody. This is awesome. Very cool, man. Thank you. Nate Adams says that rig flies like a Jack Russell Terrier on meth. It feels great, but it is so fast. Josh Bergeron says, yo, glad to catch a live stream. I appreciate what you do. I'm a month into FPV. What might cause my motors to feel shaky on an Air 75 when I let off the throttle? Just got it today. Oh, man, so many things, Josh. So the motors are probably not shaky. The whole quad is shaky, right? Like you're flying it, you let off the throttle, and the whole quad shakes, right? I don't know how you would tell if the motors themselves were shaky. The language that we use in FPV is super difficult, but it's super important. So I'm gonna make that assumption because I've seen people ask similar questions like this a million times, right? And I'm pretty sure I know what you're doing, what's going on with you. First question that I'm gonna have to ask is like, where did you get this quad from? Did you buy it from a person that potentially fucked it up, or did you buy it directly from Beta FPV, or another reseller? If you bought it directly from a reseller, to some extent, get in touch with them and say, yo, this thing doesn't fly right. Send me one that does. Like, a fresh out of the box, brand new build should fly 90%, 95% perfect. If it doesn't, you can spend 100 hours trying to troubleshoot it, and the problem is a gyro that's broken. And you've wasted 100 hours. And so there's a really fine line with bind and flies where, like, yeah, it is FPV and it is DIY, and sometimes you're at a different altitude than where it was tested, and like you're just gonna have to screw around with it a little bit. But then on the other side of that fine line is like it could be broken and you could waste a ton of time and maybe even money. You start buying replacement motors, you buy a different frame, you buy props, and none of it fixes it. And now you got a bunch of extra shit that you don't really need. So you're in a tough spot. Like, you're also only 1 month into the hobby, so you don't know how to troubleshoot yet. You've stumbled upon one of the best places, if I can hopefully say without sounding like an asshole, for this kind of stuff. So congratulations for that. You hit the fucking lottery there. I would have killed for anyone that knew anything 10 years ago when I was getting into FPV. And so, yeah, maybe by now you've told me where you got it from, because that's going to be the first massive thing that I need to know to even be able to start to troubleshoot. Dave Gunna says, I did 225 on both. Mine was the same generic 255. So you brought the temperature down. Interesting. Dave Gunna says, drop the PETG screenshot into Discord 3D printing chat. Thank you, brother. Josh, also make sure you tag me. If you don't tag me, I won't read it automatically. Like, I'm looking for you to comment now, but for the record, if you ever want me to read something, you have to tag me. Sporny says, my motors are chirping a bit when in prop wash, but otherwise everything's beautiful. Is that a problem? Probably not. If everything is good and the motors aren't getting hot, I would just keep flying it. You Can FPV says, could he just be sitting in his own dirty air, like coming off throttle? Absolutely. So Josh says Amazon. Okay, so that's super helpful. So that is, in theory, a build that has come essentially directly from Beta FPV. Like You Can FPV just said, there's something called prop wash. And it's just the dirty air that your props are creating. And so if what you're doing is you're going full throttle straight up, and then you're going zero throttle, and you're falling down through your own janky, dirty air, right? The propellers are always spinning. They're always sending a little bit of moving air downwards. And then if you come through that, it can potentially wibble and wobble a little bit. Especially a totally stock tune. A really quick and easy way to see if that might be the problem is to hook it up to Betaflight, go into the PIDs tab, and at the bottom, there's a whole bunch of sliders. The very last slider is Master Multiplier. That's probably going to be at 1.0. Take it from 1.0 and move it to, like, in this case, I want you to move it to 1.4. And then fly it again. Be really careful, because that could cause it to fly away. So you could arm it and start to add throttle, and it'll just try to fly away on its own. So have your finger... Where the hell's my transmitter's on the coffee table because I was flying on the couch last night. You should have this anyway, but you should always have your finger on the arm switch. You flip the arm switch up, and then you should be resting a finger on the top of the arm switch so you can just instantly turn it off. And so make sure and be ready for it to just fly away. If it doesn't just fly away, it could be acting weird. When you go full throttle and then you come off the throttle, if it sounds weird or if it doesn't immediately drop the motor RPM down, then basically you've pushed the tune to be almost too aggressive. It's not flying away, but it's like right on the edge. But what I want you to do that because it's going to make the PIDs really aggressive, and then I want you to do whatever you were doing that was making it wibbly wobbly, and see if the behavior has gotten better or worse. If the behavior is... Sporty says, my master is at 2 already, that's okay. If the behavior is better, then my guess is you're maybe somewhere high elevation, where the air is thinner, or they just shipped it with a really weak tune. And as long as it's not acting weird otherwise, you can leave that Master Multiplier cranked up there and just enjoy it and go fly. Here's the other thing I'm going to say. most of the scenarios where these quads wobble around, you can fly around it as a pilot. Learning to fly around those situations makes you a better pilot. And one of the things that I always recommend to folks that are brand new is to not PID tune at all. Just fly, and fly a lot. You will learn how to make the thing not wobble in its own dirty air, and that is a super important skill to have. And so, to some extent, don't do that to the master multiplier. Just go out and fly and just enjoy it. Nobody's going to watch your footage. If they do watch your footage, it's going to be excruciating because you suck. We all sucked when we were 1 month into the hobby. We all sucked when we were 1 year into the hobby. Some of us still suck 10 years into the hobby. We're just barely good enough for a bunch of people to actually watch us fly on our live streams. But yeah, you don't need your quad to not wobble around as long as it's not doing it all the time. If it's doing it all the time, that's a problem. But if it just does it every once in a while, fly around it. It'll make you a way better pilot, and you won't have to screw around with PID tuning. Good question, brother. Welcome to the grind. FPV's hard, but it's worth it, in my opinion. Josh says it didn't happen every battery, to be honest. If I slid the battery as far in as possible, it didn't shake. Okay, so there's your problem. FPV is a massive, massive exercise in troubleshooting. You are going to have to troubleshoot everything from how far you push the battery in to like complex PID tuning shit to which motors do I buy to which propellers do I buy. Everything in FPV is a troubleshoot. If I slid the battery in as far as possible, it didn't shake. That's it. Like that is, you have found the problem. And so you with FPV, you always need, not always, but you usually need to take a huge step back. And like, you're going to go on Reddit and you're going to go onto Facebook groups, and every single asshole is going to say your PID tune sucks, your filters suck, you're an idiot, you need to do this, you need to do that. They're almost all dumb and have no idea what they're talking about. It's awful. More than 50% of the advice, I'm not exaggerating this, more than 50% of the advice on Facebook groups and Reddit is dead wrong. Not just wrong, but dead wrong. Like, either completely unrelated in any way whatsoever, or in a lot of cases, ass opposite. Literally the complete opposite thing that you should do. So be super careful. Look for communities of people like this one that you're in right now, where there's a bunch of total nerds that have been into this for a long time, that actually pay attention to this stuff, rather than like people that are just kind of in it for the clout in some weird way, which you see a lot on Reddit and Facebook groups. Be super careful, man. There's so much bad advice out there that will teach you the complete opposite of the way the situation actually is, and that shit is mega. Like, I can't tell you how many people I meet that are like, oh yeah, I need to do this to fix this, right? I'm like, that's ass opposite. How the hell did you learn that? I'm like, well, everybody says that. I'm like, wow, there we go. So yeah, if you do something that if you have a problem in FPV and you do something that changes either better or worse, if you do something that consistently affects that problem that you're having, good God, latch onto that and take a big step back and go, why the hell would that affect that? My quad is wobbling. Everybody on the internet, myself included a minute ago, said, change your tune. What I didn't know is that it sounds like your battery fits loose in the battery tray unless you smash it all the way forward. There's about 80 things that can be wrong. It's impossible for me to ask every single question to get to the bottom of it. So what my first troubleshooting approach was crank the master multiplier up and just see, if you go back, I said, just see if that makes the problem better or worse. If you had done that in this case, it would not have helped the problem, because the problem is that your battery is bouncing around. And so cranking the PID tune up would not have helped the problem. And then hopefully you would have come back to me a couple streams from now and said, yo, I did what you said, and cranking up the PID tune did not improve the situation. And then I could have said, awesome, here's our next troubleshooting step. Like when people buy a half an hour or an hour of my time and we do a one-on-one Discord call or Skype or whatever, this is it, man. It's like, hey, try this. Did it make it better or worse? All right, that, decision tree, branching, we went this way. Cool, try this. Now we go this way. Try this. Now we go and you just branch and you branch and you branch and you branch, you branch, you branch. This is FPV, man. You're going to do this constantly. If you find something that affects the behavior, you like, ooh, stop everything. Ooh. And again, take a big step back and be like, why does that have anything to do with it? In your case, when you don't push the battery all the way forward, the battery is in there vibrating. These things have error correction built in. It's called the PID loop. The error correction detects error. In your case, the error is the battery twisting, for example, and hitting the quad. So the propellers and the motors, they're always going to vibrate. These things are vibrating machines. So there's always going to be vibrations. So if you have something that's loose, it's gonna go one way and it's gonna smack into the plastic, and then it's gonna try to turn this thing in this example. Well, the error correction is gonna say no, 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 and it's gonna try to turn it back the other way. Well, guess what? Now the battery is gonna unload the one direction, smash into the other side. Now the battery is gonna make it do this, and now it's gonna try to turn back, and now it's gonna try to turn back and back and back and back and back and back and back, right? Propellers that are out of balance, they're gonna vibrate. Or they're going to vibrate this way, and the error correction is going to feel that, and every single little vibration, it's going to try to push back the other way. It's creating its own, it's fighting against something that you can't fix. A loose battery, the PID loop can't fix. A prop that's out of balance, the PID loop can't fix. It's unfixable, but god damn it, it's going to try, because it has no idea. The error correction assumes that you've built a quad that's not a hot mess. Well, in this case, Beta FPV is built a quad that's not a hot mess. And so, yeah, when you find something that affects the problem, target that, focus on that, and fix that issue. So for you, when you notice that, when you push the battery all the way in and it's not loose, it fixes the problem, take that step back and be like, okay, well, I don't want to push the battery all the way in anymore. How do I fix this problem? Fucking electric tape. Or like foam, or like, doesn't matter. You gotta get DIY-ish. Try not to add weight. Electric tape is very heavy. So like if one single wrap of electric tape fixes it, that's cool. It's not gonna add that much weight. If you have to add 5 wraps of electric tape, that's too heavy. Look into like, do you have a little bit of foam kicking around? Some of the best flying quads in the world are held together with popsicle sticks, spit, hopes, and prayers. Like, you'll look at them, you'll be like, oh my god, you fly that? It's like, yeah, and it flies the best because it's super lightweight and it's dialed. Try not to be super janky in the respect of, like, it's fragile. Like, if it's going to be janky, it should be reliable and like, not have stuff that like every third battery you have to like reset and repack, and you know what I'm saying? Try to figure out a solution that's lightweight and like it doesn't require you to do maintenance to it over and over again, because that shit gets old. There you go. Anybody that's brand new, I just hooked you up with like some of the best advice that you're gonna get in your first like year. I just pushed you through about 1 year's worth of troubleshooting. If that's not worth $3 a month on Patreon, I don't know what is. CiottiFPV.com. Support me, yo, so I can keep helping you guys not hate your life when you're dealing with FPV troubleshooting, because it sucks and it's hard. Cool? If you have a weird behavior that doesn't happen all the time, figure out why it doesn't happen all the time. That's your problem. That's gold right there. That sentence is fucking gold right there. Watch this. Watch this. This is me being a good content creator. We're going to make a reel. Ready? Here we go. So I just said this on my live stream, but it bears repeating, and it's super important. In FPV, just in life too, if you have a problem... Shit, I don't remember what I said. Fuck it. I don't like being a good content creator. Start over. Delete. I hate doing that. I hate social media. Really. I don't like it. I did one the other day. It was really good. I told you multimeter stuff, but I don't like it. I don't like it. Josh Bergeron says, sounds fun. CMYK says, what are you build out? I've missed a few streams. Analog. I got to try to get caught up on chat so I can finish it. I only have a half an hour left. Sporny says, also my rates feel different in my custom build. Is this a thing with feed forward? Still learning. Feed forward will definitely change the way that your rates feel, as will just the PIDs in general, as will how powerful the motors are, how much thrust the prop motor combo makes, how heavy the rig is. Lots of things change it. You should keep your rates the same on all your builds, in my opinion, and then just adjust mainly feed forward. If you've got a rig that feels lazy, crank feed forward up. If you have a rig that's too nervous, turn feed forward down. Try in my opinion, try to make all of your builds fly somewhat similar so that every single time you fly a different build, you don't have to completely shift your brain into a different muscle memory for each different one. Unless every build flying different is what's fun for you, then do that. Do what's fun. But if you want to fly better, try to have all your rigs feel a little bit more similar. Lewis says, 3-inch frame soon. Seriously, though, I'm pretty hyped. I'm almost to the bottom of chat, so yes, very soon. Cole Power says, it would have made it worse. Lowering it would have helped it a bit, but it's a mechanical problem. When he fixes the problem, a modified tune would actually be worse. Maybe. I would be inclined to... I would say like 50% of me agrees, but 49% of me has been in FPV for long enough to know that every single time that I think that every single time that I'm sure that something will have a specific effect, sometimes it just doesn't. Sometimes and so in this case, right, I told him to make the tune more aggressive. Making the tune more aggressive means that it will attack bad behavior earlier. And so maybe when the battery slammed into the side, it would have attacked that behavior a little bit earlier, and that would have made it more softly cook off that weird little yaw or whatever that happened, and it could have actually helped. With the reason why troubleshooting is so difficult in FPV is that there are so many systems all stacked on top of each other that all affect one another. And so, like everybody on Facebook and everybody on Reddit saying like your PID tune is the problem, your filters tune is the problem, it's just insane. It's not. It's the easiest problem to fix, to work on, because you plug it into Betaflight and fucking blah, 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 blah. But more often than not, it's actually not the issue. More often than not, it's a mechanical problem. Always look at mechanical issues first. But man, you wouldn't believe how many times I'm sure that a change in the PID tune is going to have the intended effect, and it has the complete opposite effect because of some weird thing that I didn't think of. Like I made the PID tune more aggressive, but then the motors got too hot, and the motors started losing power because they were getting too hot. Who the hell would have thought that? So it's tough. But your head is in the right place. I would say the same thing if I hadn't troubleshot these things so excruciatingly often over such a long period of time. Josh says, thank you, bro. I'll go join now. Thank you, dude. That's super cool of you. Dave Gunna says, this is why I've not canceled Patreon, even though I'm not flying right now. Thank you for that, man. That's very cool of you as well. Uriel says, is it for myself to good advice? Yes. Swarny says, thanks for the advice. We'll try. Awesome. P. Richard Scott says, see Veritas Weasel. Thank you for that. Veritas, you put a dash after CiottiFPV so it didn't light up in orange. If you have a weird behavior that doesn't happen all the time, figure out why it happens. That's your problem. That's it. I'm glad that I didn't put that up as a reel. That sounds insane now that I read it. This is my 3-inch frame that has had 3 different designers over the years. The most current designer is Ryan Harrell, who is a gift from the FPV gods. Ryan Harrell runs the website Mini Quad Test Bench, which is sort of an OG website, but it has more motor testing than anybody's ever done. Ryan Harrell knows Ryan Harrell, Chris Rosser, Joshua Bardwell. That's really like the brain trust in FPV. Those 3 people know more than pretty much everyone else combined. Ryan Harrell is an awesome guy that I met at Quad Camp at Joshua Bardwell's house when I was like sort of an instructor, helper, whatever, way back in the day. We hit it off and have stayed in touch ever since. He has designed most of the QAV frames for the last like 4 or 5 years. He's a brilliant guy, great frame designer, and he was cool enough when I sent him a version of this frame that I was working on a couple years ago to go, this looks really cool. Do you mind if I kind of dive into it and make some pretty serious changes? And I was like, dude, that's insane. Like, absolutely. Thank you so much. And then I didn't do shit with it because I'm a bad person. But some things just take time. And what's really cool about this frame was designed specifically for analog, specifically for 20 by 20, tiny little space in the rear for a little tiny VTX and receiver, and then a little tiny space in front for an analog camera. Around the time that Ryan Harrell finished this design and sent me this prototype, actually, was around the time that everything shifted over to digital. All of our VTXs got bigger. The cameras all got bigger. And that's one of the reasons that this thing has just kind of sat for a while. The version 2 of the prototype of this frame, Ryan actually browbeat me into putting, thank God that he did, 25 by 25 mounting. Here it is. And that is what has brought this frame back to life. And I'm in a period where I have a little bit more time to get this done. And so there are 25 by 25 mounting provisions on this guy. This is the version 2 of the prototype. Split base plate on this one, which is pretty cool. And so now we've got a frame that we can put... back when this frame was designed, the AIOs were dog shit. And I was just like, nope, I don't even want people to have the ability to put an AIO in, and then it flies like shit and they blame the frame, because that's what everybody does. But nowadays the AIOs have gotten a lot better, and nowadays we also have O4 light. And so this frame with O4 light is about the coolest thing ever. So help me God, if we can never get O4 lights again, I'm gonna light this motherfucker on fire, because this is such a cool platform for O4 light. Tiny little spot in the back for your tiny little ELRS receiver. Perfect battery tray on top for like 4S 450s and 550s. Little tiny spot up front for the little tiny O4 light camera. And then stacked up 25 by 25. There's even 20 by 20 holes in the top plate if you wanted to hang a 20 by 20 off the top. So yeah, mega motor protection on the ends of the arms, removable arms so that you can actually fly it hard, and then when you break an arm, just unbolt it and replace it, not tear the entire goddamn thing all the way down to swap out a unibody base plate. Split base plate because it gives you more space for the camera, and you don't need a ton of extra space in the back because you're just putting a receiver. So yeah, the arms are removable with 2 bolts, one and 2, for example, 1, 2 bolts, and this arm would pull right out. Yeah, pretty cool frame design. No idea if it flies good. No idea if there's going to be resonance problems because I'm a bad person and haven't built one yet. This is the first one. This is the first one that I started to build like eons ago. I put this ESC in here. I wired up the motors and the race wires. And then it just sat, and I got hammered by a million other things, and I just never revisited it. But god damn it, this thing is getting done. Maybe not tonight, but it's getting done for sure here, because it's almost done right now. It's actually, everything is wired up, and so all I need to do is like zip tie stuff down and plug it in for the first time and see if it explodes. The ESC has been plugged in previously, so the ESC is not going to explode, but there might be a short somewhere. So you want to have the best investment that you can possibly make in FPV is this right here. This is the Vifly, VIFLY short stopper, SHORT stopper. This is the only short stopper that actually works. This is the only one that's quick enough to work. So this is the one that you have to get. It's well worth it. If you order it directly from Vifly, leave a note that says, yo, CiottiFPV talks about you guys constantly. You should sponsor him. I would love to be sponsored by Vifly, or just have Vifly know who I am. They really do make... They're the only company that I've run into in FPV that 100% consistency makes awesome products, top to bottom. Every single thing that I've ever bought from Vifly has been super well thought out, super well quality controlled. We are very lucky to have them. So we're gonna plug this guy in here. This is only a 2S battery, so in theory, even if this thing doesn't trip quick enough, it won't blow anything up because it's only 2S. We're gonna plug this guy in here, not backwards. We're gonna plug it in the correct way. And we're going to push the button, see if it explodes. 3, 2, 1. Hey! Oh, now that's funny. What is that startup tone? Hold on. Oh, this is a blast from the past. Here, I'm going to have to hold this up to the microphone because it's really quiet. But what is this startup tone? Ready? What is that? So this is apparently a Bheli 32 ESC, which is a little bit of a problem because Bheli is gone and you can't update Bheli anymore. It's not Star Wars. Good guess. In the olden days, Bheli startup tones used to... I'm plugging this thing into the computer. Bheli startup tones used to tell you what was going on. There would be one tone for like no connection between the ESC and the flight controller. There'd be another tone for like you need to update me. And I think this might be one of those tones that's trying to tell me something. CMYK says take my money. You'll have one. You'll have the other prototype soon enough. I found it. I found the one that I was going to send you, and I laid all the parts out, and I have it. Here it is. CMYK flies a lot and crashes hard, so he's going to be my prototype tester. All right, here we go. I'm firing up Bheli 32. I haven't done this in a long time. We're going to see how screwed I am. So because Bheli 32 is gone, I'm not going to be able to update this thing. And so let's see how old of a version of the software that it has on it. Oh, well, that's not good. The motor's just like twitched and acted super weird. Why is everything grayed out? Oh, God. Please don't do this to me. Let me cycle the power. This thing has acted different every time I've put power to it. That's not a good sign. Also, is it because the port is not selected? Oh, no. Tell me that, like, PLA 32 isn't just, like, full-blown broken now. Well, hold on. Let's try this real quick, just for the sake of argument. Oh, okay, all right. So there's no connection. This. Whoa. Wow. That was something. I unplugged the USB. And all 4 motors started spinning. I think that's only ever happened once before. Make sure your props are off if you plug your quad in at your bench. Okay, so this, I have 2 USB hubs under the desk. One of them usually works, but sometimes doesn't. The other one works all the time. This cable must be plugged into the one that doesn't work all the time. Let's plug this thing into a known working USB port. Okay. Oh, God. A nut just fell off. Oh, I didn't tighten those up. That makes sense. All right. That'll be better. Okay. Powering it up again. ESC configurator. Select serial port. Where's my Betaflight serial port? What's happening? What? What's going on? What? There we go. No? What? Okay. There we go. There we go. There we go. Okay. Select serial port. There it is. Why does it keep saying virtual port, though? That's a little weird. Powering it back up. What the hell? When I powered up, the port goes away? Yeah. What? What? Bueller? Okay. Unplugging and replugging the USB. Oh boy, this is acting weird. Interesting. Let's luckily there's only 10 minutes left in the live stream. BMF Spade says, my short stopper has saved my ass a bunch of times. Jason Levin says, I still fried my first build using that short stopper. I don't think I know how to use it. No, you can still fry builds. The short stoppers usually work, but they can't possibly always work. Cole Power, Cole Power says, I made an adapter from barrel plug to XT60. Usually uses to run a charger, useful for current limiting AC/DC adapter into a quad. That's pretty cool. Matty Bunce is saying that the 04 lights are in stock at Flywoo. Is that true? Holy shit. TMYK says, I've already got a squid read for transplant. Nice. Squid ready for transplant. Nate Adams says, CiottiFPV is kind of back there now, selling fully legal licensed FETs and have released new ESC targets. I don't think updating works. God damn it. Cole Power says, unplug battery first. This flight controller is acting incredibly weird in that it just won't, it's just not showing up. Maybe it blew up. Maybe I sent backwards voltage up into the flight controller and it blew up. I'm looking for another flight controller that I can plug in that's USB-C, but I'm not finding one, so I'll just use old school USB. Yeah, so this flight controller is not showing up. Let me plug another one in and just see. All right, so this is a tiny whoop. Plugging it in, and there we go. All is well. Okay, so this Hack RC flight controller on this build that I just did, either I just blew it up or it was broken. Because on Mac, it either shows up or it doesn't. And it doesn't. But it did for a split second, so I think I blew it up. Which is just awesome. Wowee. Well, so at this point, here's what's really fun about it, FPV. Either the ESC is bad, or I wired the ESC up wrong to the flight controller, or the flight controller itself was just bad and waiting to die. No real way to know. I mean, I can certainly figure out if I wired it up wrong, and I will. But there's no way to know if this ESC blew up the flight controller or if the flight controller just died on its own. And so, like, a lot of times what you'll do in this scenario is you'll be like, oh, the flight controller blew up. That's fine. I'll grab another one. You plug another flight controller in, and then it blows up because the ESC is the problem. And so, yeah, this is where we're at. At this point, what you do is you start desoldering stuff from the flight controller. What's really easy to do is accidentally solder something up backwards, and then some of these components have anti-plugged in backwards protection. And if you have something soldered up backwards and it has that protection on, it'll make the flight controller act super weird. So let me take a really quick look at some of these solder joints to make sure I didn't solder a positive to a negative, for example. Specifically, I'm going to be looking at these extra little LEDs that I put on here. So ground, 5 volt, that one's okay. And that one's okay. Ground and 5 volt. So those are good. What else do I have soldered up here? Well, on the LED itself, we've got positive and negative. So that LED is okay, and then positive and negative. So it shouldn't be these LEDs. Let's keep going. So I'm going to pull these little nuts off. we go. Okay. Well, next thing I can kind of look at is the camera. So the camera has... I had to make this camera plug. So this is a Sparrow. Yeah, this is a Runcam Sparrow 2. So let's check the wiring on this. Maybe I have the camera. You could also just unplug the camera. So I've got white on the outside, which is my power, and then ground right next to it. That's correct on the camera plug. And so now we trace those wires down here, pull this up and off, and then we trace those wires to the pads. And now let's take a look. And we've got the white on 5 volt and the black on ground. So that's totally fine. The camera is not wired up backwards. That's great. I do have a little camera controller plugged into the camera, so we're going to disconnect that. Just because at this point what you want to start doing is disconnecting stuff. Let me actually see. When you make, like, try to retest every time you make a change. That's the first change that I've made. Let's take a quick look. Let's just see if that was part of the problem. Probably not, but you never know. And the answer is no, but just to be sure, let's quit out of Betaflight and then relaunch it. When I plugged in the Tiny Whoop, it just automatically popped up, so this shouldn't change anything, and it didn't. Okay, so that's not the issue. We keep going. So the camera is not plugged in backwards. The LEDs are not plugged in backwards. Let's check the receiver next. So receiver, black wire is on B negative, which is probably battery negative. Oh, interesting. No, it's not. It's on 5 volt. There we go. Okay, yeah, 5 volt. Thank God I didn't make that mistake. 5 volt and ground. This is the receiver that I'm taking a look at. So red is on 5 volt, black is on ground. That's great. On the receiver itself. Sure glad I didn't get these all mounted properly. Come on, you bastard. Get out of there. There we go. On the receiver, the black wire is going to ground. The red wire is going to 5 volt. Great. So the receiver is not wired incorrectly. You'll notice I didn't say the receiver is not the problem. I should not be saying that at all, because any of these things could be internally shorted and causing the issue. Next up is the Pro 32 VTX. And so let's just get these wires out of the way here so I can see these pads. All right. And so now the red wire going to the VTX is on the 9 volt pad. That's correct. The black wire is on the ground pad. White wire is on TX1. Yellow wire is on VTX video out. Great. So this is a Pro 32 Nano. I'm typing in TBS Pro 32 Nano wiring into a search engine and search engine. Okay. So if we look at the board from the top where I have to take this antenna off here. Oops, sorry. I have to take this off. All right, there we go. If I hold the board like this, there's the antenna plug. We've got red going to 4.5 to 13 volts in, and black going to ground. Let's make sure nothing's bridged. Not bridged on the front. Not bridged on the back. let's unplug the flight controller from the ESC and see if that changes any behavior. This is troubleshooting an FPV, my new friends to the hobby. One thing at a time. Check everything. No change. Let's just make sure that nothing weird is happening on the computer, and we're going to plug in a tiny whoop again that I know to be good. And immediately this shows what it should show. So, computer's fine. Flight controller is still the issue. Let's, just for the sake of argument, let's plug this into a different port and a different cable. Nothing. So, at this point, we start desoldering things from the flight controller. But it's 9:01, so this build can go to hell. And I now have to change the title of the stream to not finishing. Not finishing my 3-inch frame prototype build. There we go. Great. So yeah, like the flight controller is potentially blown up anyway. I'm pretty sure that it did connect once. I might go back and rewatch the live stream just to double check that, but I'm pretty sure that it did connect with Betaflight once. And then something weird happened and it didn't anymore. And that screams it blew up. But you know, you have to desolder stuff from it anyway to swap it out because it's potentially broken. So as you desolder stuff, keep plugging it in. So I'm going to desolder one of the LEDs and then I'm going to plug it in, see if it's better. I'm going to desolder the other LED, plug it in, see if it's better. If you desolder a component, the receiver, let's say, and all of a sudden the flight controller works again, the receiver is broken. Got me? Don't just freak out at this point, desolder everything, and throw the fucking thing in the river. Because you'll put another flight controller in it, you'll solder everything back up, and the receiver is still the problem, and the receiver is shorted, and the receiver will blow up that next flight controller. And then you'll be really pissed. You gotta do this stuff one thing at a time when it doesn't work. That is a hard lesson learned. I was really looking forward to this thing. And at this point, I'm going to change the entire stack out. Unless I desolder something and all of a sudden this thing works, I don't trust this ESC. Also, this ESC is BL-Heli 32. And BL-Heli 32 is kind of dead. And so I don't want it on here anymore. So, yeah. I've now got 2, 3, 4 more hours of work to do on this thing. I'm not going to do it tonight. I don't have it in me. But this is going to stay on the workbench. And, well, you know what I'm going to do real quick? I'm going to desolder a couple things because I have to do that anyway. And if that fixes it, it'll be a perfect example for you guys. So we're going to desolder these LEDs first. Man, I set these LEDs... rest in peace to these LEDs. Look how hot this is. These are called like side saddle LEDs from Tiny's LEDs. And I set, look at these little tiny wire runs. This flight controller has 4 LED outputs on all 4 corners, which I thought was just too cool not to use. So I did this nice, beautiful little short wire run right to the LED. And I was going to mount it up here. And then it was going to shine forward. This camera's at 0 up tilt right now, but normally it'll be like, you know, have a bunch of up tilt on it. And this is a purple one up here. It would shine up above it, light it up all purple, all cool like. And then I did this other one on the back here with red because, you know, brake lights. And I had like I had the wires all pretty and sitting nice and flat, and then this guy actually held the wires down, which was pretty cool. And then it sat down there like that, and then it was going to shoot red backwards and illuminate the whole back of the thing with red. And then these guys were just going to get zip tied down on the bottom there, and it was going to be nice and clean. But in FPV, nothing ever works. And so, you know, here we are. Let's desolder these LEDs and see if they're the problem. I haven't used these LEDs before. They've been sitting in my workbench for at least a year. God only knows. Maybe they're cursed. One LED removed. Let's plug it in. No change. Oh, god damn it, dude! This is the worst part of FPV. Hands down. The lack of quality control that then forces us to do so much more work than we should have to. Both LEDs removed. And plugged in. There's a red LED on the flight controller that is coming on. No change. So the flight controller is not like all the way dead. All these wire runs are, of course, like the perfect length. Actually, no, these wire runs are a little bit too long because I've learned that lesson so many times. Don't keep those bridged. All right. Receiver has been desoldered. Soldered. Plugging in. No change. There's only one thing left. VTX. Well, no, there's the camera too. Could be the camera. Could be the camera. Well, here, we're going to unplug the camera. And, oops, sorry. I forgot the bench cam. So we're going to unplug the camera, which is the same thing as desoldering it because it's not bridged. What's up, Bobo?
Do you have 3 double-A batteries?
For what?
Battery for lights.
Plugging it in.
It won't plug in.
No change. No, I'm talking to chat.
Oh.
Come back in 10 minutes.
Okay.
Cool?
Yeah.
I'll hook you up.
Do you have any color printer?
So it's not the camera. Nope, no color printers.
Okay.
3D printers, but no color printers. All right, now we're gonna desolder both the. So the camera is sharing a ground with the VTX, which is the best thing you can possibly do to decrease video noise. And so when I desolder this camera, it's gonna. Oh no! Look at that. The VTX wire stayed on there. Desoldering the camera wire, I don't need to plug it in, but what the hell. Plugging it in. No change. And now desoldering the Pro 32 Nano. This does not take much extra time, and you have to desolder all this stuff anyway. So do this every time. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. Flight controller is now, well, now we look at it to make sure nothing got bridged. Make sure there's no weird solder balls floating around between pads or anything like that. Top is clean. Bottom is clean. And we plug it in. Nothing. So, flight controller died. It either died from the ESC being wired incorrectly and sending voltage into ground, and or voltage into motor pins, full battery voltage where it doesn't belong. And so if I look at the wiring diagram, ground is supposed to be all the way off on the left, and then voltage is supposed to be next to it. And with pins up, ground was all the way on the left, and voltage was next to it. So the flight controller was not wired up correctly. What was not wired up incorrectly on the quad side of the connector. On the ESC side of the connector, though, it's also correct because I multimetered it. And so either the ESC... What could the ESC have done to blow up the flight controller? I was only giving it 2S voltage, and it was going through the smoke stopper. It's probably just the ESC. And when I multimetered the voltage coming out of the ESC, it was correct. It wasn't like somehow boosting the voltage. Not that I don't think that could really happen. But yeah, it certainly looks like this hack RC flight controller just died. And if I'd paid for this, then that's what you get. If you buy something from a company whose name begins with hack, you kind of deserve it. This came in an FPV crate eons ago. And so my assumption is going to be that Hack RC sent their worst quality controlled stuff because, the crate companies have to make money somehow, so they have to get their products at a discounted rate. And so, yeah, we got the worst quality control, and it blew up the first time that it had voltage to it. There's no, if it won't connect to Betaflight, there's nothing you can really do. All of this horribleness in the live stream is YouTube being a giant pile of shit. At some point, YouTube will crash, and then it will fix this. But, yeah, for some reason, I don't know. This happens every once in a while. Yeah, that's a shame. This thing was ready to go. Hey, there's YouTube crashing. And let's relaunch this, and we'll relaunch this, and now all will be right with the world. Although it looks like it took the Canon software with it. Everyday Brother says, the 7-year-old build I'm doing has a Hack RC flight controller on it. Good luck! Whoop Fox says, I've had a bad camera be the problem. Yep. Anything, I've had an onboard microphone be the problem. Anything that shorts internally can blow up anything connected to it. You Can FPV says, I should have ordered an 04 Lite when you told us not to. Gold Power says, unplug battery first. Nate Adams says, oh no, we got that. It's a Transtech Lightning, LOL. Interesting. Now EOS webcam utility won't come back to life. What the hell? Come on. Oh man, yeah, and like I said, I don't fully trust this. What the ESC could be doing to blow up the flight controller is sending voltage through the other wires, sending voltage through the motor wires, and so out comes the multimeter again. I'm gonna, since I just have it sitting like this, and I am curious, I'm not going to do it on the stream, but I am going to break out the multimeter. I'm going to take a plug header that has just bare wires. I'm going to hook that up, and I'm just going to multimeter every single wire to see if there's one wire that's sending full voltage when it shouldn't be. But it doesn't really matter. No, it does matter. That is absolutely what you would want to do if you were going to stick with this ESC. I don't think that I'm going to because of the weird shit that this ESC was... Well, here, let's give this ESC voltage again and see if it does that weird beep sequence that it was doing. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Oh, well, there's no flight controller connected now. And so I only get the first 3 beeps. So yeah, initially it was seeing the flight controller because it was giving me more than just those first 3 beeps. So initially the flight controller was working. It was given that weird ass sequence of beeps, which I don't remember what that was, but that's okay. I'm gonna plug this flight controller back in because I want to see what beeps it does. All right, so let's see here. Flight controller's plugged back in. Power, and here we go. Nothing. Flight controller's dead. If you have a flight controller and an ESC that are plugged in correctly, and the flight controller is not blown up, and the flight controller does not have some totally fucked up thing going on, or the ESC doesn't have some weird shit flash to it, you should get doo-doo-doo, and then a little pause, and then doo-doo, or just something. You should, the first 3 beeps, doo-doo-doo, that is the ESC saying, hey man, I'm here. I'm connected to the motors because the motors are what make the actual beep. I'm somewhat healthy. I have a version of some firmware on me that works at least a little bit. The next 2 beeps are the flight controller saying, yo, I'm here too. I'm not getting those beeps number 4 and 5, and so the flight controller's blown up. Like, that's it. This is done. Now I'm going to use the multimeter to figure out if I want to chance it with this ESC. Safest thing to do would be to take both of these Hack RC products and throw them in the goddamn river. I'm a cheap bastard, and so I'm going to see if this ESC, if this ESC is not sending full voltage on one of the motor wires or some other weird shit, I might leave it in here and just put a different flight controller on this. At that point, it could absolutely blow up again. If it does, it's totally the ESC's fault. And so, yeah, there you go. Every day no, we got that. Cold Power says, before you connect power, continuity test between all wires and VBAT. Yeah, that's a good idea. I never do it, though. Frosty says, I think it was 2 groups of 4 beeps. Yeah, it was do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And at one point in my FPV career, I knew exactly what that meant, but I don't anymore. Thanks for hanging, friends. My name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. If you'd like to see this content continue, join the team. Head on over to CiottiFPV.com. Click some buttons. Support me. This is totally crowdfunded. I need every one of you to do a little bit of something. Click the thumbs up. Subscribe. Tell your friends, man. That's the best thing that you can possibly do. Find a little part of this live stream or another live stream that's funny and send it to a friend. See if they'll start, being freaks with the rest of us. Thanks for hanging. Be good. Here comes some more RC drift car chasing. Love you. Bye.